I bought a puppy snake online, but ended up with two. As we stared at each other with 6 eyes, I silently opened the chat window with customer service. Sweetie, these snakes aren't sold individually, one's cold, one's hot, though their personalities are completely different. They're both high-maintenance babies as requested by you, sweetie. Here's the translation. Here's the snake feeding manual for you. Enjoy your meal. During the 2 months of keeping snakes, I started having frequent nightmares. In the twilight between sleep and wakefulness, a scorching head burrowed into the hollow of my neck. Bro, can't you be gentler with people? The skin's already broken. The snake's scales were smooth and cool, slowly slithering up the ankle, stiffly opening my eyes. I met 2 pairs of pale vertical pupils. The barrage of comments before my eyes flashed frantically. The female lead is so naive. Does she really think a high-needs baby is satisfied with just hugs and kisses? Shared senses are the best setting for twins. Who cares if it's black or white? Turn them all yellow for me. Ever since I started living alone, I've wanted to keep a pet. A friend recommended a shop to me, which mostly sells exotic pets. Topping the bestseller list is the recently viral puppy snake online. The product page describes them as docile, easy to care for, highly capable, and service-oriented. Scrolling further reveals overwhelmingly positive reviews. Praise the seller. This snake care manual is amazing, always fresh insights with every read. Sisters, you must choose according to your needs. I only recently found out that once this thing is sold, there are no returns or exchanges. High-needs babies are really too much. Everyone must choose carefully. P.S. Sisters who aren't self-employed, definitely don't choose this. It makes me unable to get out of bed every night. This thing can even distinguish levels of need. A bit strange. Watching the stock of the best-selling item dwindle, I didn't hesitate any longer and luckily grabbed the last one. The customer service reached out to me proactively. Sweetie, please verify the shipping address. If it's correct, we'll proceed to arrange the shipment from the warehouse. Correct, sweetie? Sorry to bother you again. The little puppy snake you just ordered is currently out of stock, however. We have a new customizable product in our warehouse. Would it be okay if we automatically upgrade your order to the new style? Upgrade? What a great deal. I immediately replied, sure. Do we have any specific requirements or special requests here? For example, color preference, pink. Then please note that for me too. Okay dear, I've noted it down for you. Rose will also apply for 2 full sets of gift packages for you. The items will be shipped within 12 hours. All sales are final. No returns or exchanges. After waiting for 2 days, I finally received that long-anticipated package, a cardboard box nearly half a person's height. Excited, I dragged it into the living room, sat cross-legged on the floor, and immediately started unpacking. First came the handcuffs, then the chains, followed by the whip, and even a bunch of other random stuff. If it weren't for the correct recipient ID, I would have thought I'd accidentally opened my neighbor's package. Finally, at the bottom of the box, I found an acrylic case. Inside lay a pink and white hognose snake. My baby isn't the least bit shy, curiously tilting its head up to look around. The moment I lifted the lid, its tail tip familiarly coiled around my wrist bone. It edged closer while nudging my palm with its little pig-like snout. Adorable and charming. Such an adorable creature exists in this world. I held it and gave it a thorough petting, stroking it from head to tail several times. This texture, this warmth, absolutely perfect. At that moment, I suddenly heard a loud noise. The thick raffia grass kept bulging, as if there was still something inside. After a long while, a small head emerged from the edge of the box, flicking its tongue. It actually seemed a bit out of breath. There's actually another one. Eyes locked, I tentatively extended my palm. The next second, that yellow and white snake disdainfully turned its head away. I moved closer, it retreated further. Until cornered with nowhere left to go, it opened its mouth and blew air right at me. But the moment my fingertip got stuck in its mouth, the little one's eyes instantly cleared up. Then, as if nothing had happened, it quietly spat out my finger. Weren't you all tough just now? Can't handle it anymore. It silently turned its head and slipped through my fingers. It took a stroll around the pre-warmed terrarium I prepared, then slowly coiled into its own little nest. Clearly, the seller had mistakenly sent 2 instead of 1. The yellow-white one's quality is also top-notch. likely worth no less than the little pink one. After much hesitation, I quietly opened the chat window with customer service. Me, it seems your warehouse sent me an extra one. Customer service, dear customer, due to certain reasons, this batch of snakes cannot be sold individually. Our boss said that since you seem destined, we'll take a loss and give you a buy one get one free deal. Customer service, one cold, one hot, though their personalities differ, both are high-maintenance babies as noted by you, dear customer service. Here's the digital version of the snake feeding manual for you. Enjoy your meal. As I squatted on the ground packing up the delivery boxes, my face was practically splitting from grinning, getting a buy one get one free deal. What a steal, and it went to me, Sarah, though. This shop is pretty ridiculous too. They called it a premium gift pack. But all they sent was a pile of scrap metal, chains, maybe useful if I ever get a dog, candles, at least they'll come in handy during a power outage. Handcuffs, they look heavy, might fetch some cash when sold as scrap metal, I muttered to myself, casually stuffing it into the storage room. As for the remaining whip, collar, I really couldn't think of a reason to keep them, so I packed them all into a box and threw them out. After finishing all this, I returned to the terrarium. As soon as I lifted the lid, pink and white twisted over, flicking its tongue and nuzzling into my palm, wrapping its tail around me for a good rub, my heart melted. My baby is so well behaved. Out of reflex, I raised my voice pitch. It seemed to enjoy this, familiarly slithering up my sleeve along my arm, lying on my chest, nestled in the crook of my neck. It found a comfortable spot and stayed still. No wonder the comments all say that unless you're self-employed, don't choose a high-maintenance baby, such a clingy little thing. We haven't named the baby yet. I scratched the little snake's chin. How about Puff? Pink strawberry cream Puff. It paused its affectionate nuzzling against my fingertip. Perhaps it understood, or perhaps it was unfamiliar. It wriggled its body, trying to break free, but its strength was too weak, and I pressed it back down again. Protest denied. The yellow and white one hid in its nest, secretly observing. For some reason, I always felt its gaze was like that of some fierce beast, sinister and chilling. Of course, it didn't escape either. I poked its head. Your name is Jet. Jet's hissing motion froze mid-air, then awkwardly retracted. Did it understand? Jet. When I called it again, it had already turned its back, as expected. A snake's brain is too small to comprehend anything. All of them are little fools. The 8th day since Puff and Jet came home, on a whim, I decided to renovate their nest. The moment I lifted the wood shaving bedding, I saw neatly arranged Pinky Mouse corpses and half-torn corrugated cardboard. No need to think. I knew exactly who did it. Sure enough, the culprit slowly raised its head from its hiding spot, trying to gauge my mood. Seeing no danger, it even fawningly pressed closer to nuzzle me. In contrast, Jet still maintained his usual lordly demeanor, sprawling boldly across the table. Just as the customer service said, one likes it cold, the other prefers it hot. After a thorough search, I finally found the snake feeding manual in the computer's recycle bin. The merchant compiled the manual in great detail. Only after reading it carefully did I realize they only eat salmon. Shocked, I immediately ordered the nearest salmon takeout and cleared out all the dead pinky mice from the breeding box. Puff, coiled around my neck, flicked its tongue and opened its mouth wide in an exaggerated gesture. It was practically on the verge of speaking. My baby is hungry. Puff's clear eyes shimmered with an unusual glow, and I inexplicably sensed a hint of emotion in them. The thawed salmon was diced into small cubes the size of fingernails, neatly arranged in a tiny dish. I used tweezers to feed the pieces to the two snakes. It was then I realized they hadn't been ignoring me earlier. They were simply too weak from hunger to lift their heads. That night, I fell asleep with guilt, dreaming of two slender young men. Their identical faces gave off completely different vibes. They stared down at me from above. Their scorching gazes fell upon me without restraint, as if they wanted to tear me apart and devour me. In an instant, I was pinned to the bed and bitten. A needle-like, fine pain slowly seeped through my thin skin, radiating from my neck, yet the other one still stood by with arms crossed, leaning against the white wall. He frowned slightly. Enough, stop bothering her. Then, I heard the person on top of me mumble something in response, vaguely catching the word, punishment. He's actually a daddy. My whole body ached, as weak as if I'd been run over by a car. reality and dreams overlapped. I can't quite tell if this is a dream or reality. Standing in front of the mirror with a toothbrush in my mouth, I touch my fair and smooth neck. Where are the bite marks? Yet the weakness in my limbs feels all too real. How strange. Could my period have come early? A new notification popped up on my phone. We noticed that the No. 01 treasure you purchased successfully formed a contract at 01:58 today. Please check for advanced gameplay instructions. I grabbed my phone and started browsing through the new links sent by customer service. The page count of the snake feeding manual in the shared document kept increasing. What was originally a 3-page document had now been expanded to 5 pages by the seller. A new chapter on the legend of twin snakes was added. Snakes lay eggs, with each clutch ranging from 10 to 40 eggs, and the spiritual physical twins are a once-in-a-millennium occurrence. They embody the duality of motion and stillness. Their hearts connected from the moment they hatch, sharing sorrow and joy, pain and itch. Through perfect harmony, their souls merged to guard the realm. The merchant was clearly so immersed in their artistic creation that they couldn't extricate themselves, even going so far as to draw a progress bar marker at the header, 40%. Glancing at the time, it was almost noon. I stretched my stiff neck and got up to feed Puff and Jet. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but they seem to have grown much longer, from the head to the base of the tail. Every part of its body seemed to have swollen up a size. There was so much flesh that it pushed the scales outward. Out of curiosity, I stretched them straight and held them up to my eyes. When I pulled the two side by side, they were even longer than my arm. Clearly, it far exceeds the typical length and girth of a common hognose snake. Could it be that the food at home is too good? I scratched my head, placed the snake back into its box, and reordered 2 new terrariums from the shop. After finishing these tasks, I dragged my exhausted body back to the bedroom. It's not that I'm particularly lazy, but last night's nightmare left me physically and mentally exhausted, and I'm still feeling it now. I initially thought those 2 consecutive days of spring dreams were just products of my hormones acting up, but who would have thought this absurdity would last for 2 whole months? At first, it was just a blurry play of light and shadow, but it grew increasingly vivid over time. They seem to be twins. The older brother is rough and domineering, the younger brother is gentle and clingy. They like to pin me down and call me master. Now, that strange feeling is back, even more intense than before. Clearly, it has something to do with those 2 snakes. I immediately contacted customer service, but she mysteriously told me I had unlocked a hidden variant. The 2 were talking past each other, completely on different wavelengths. Helpless, I had no choice but to give up. The anomaly was discovered on the 16th, the day before yesterday. I made a trip back to my hometown. My aunt is afraid of snakes, so I left the 2 little ones at home, perhaps still angry with me. Puff and Jet each lay in their enclosures, pretending to be dead. That night, they still refused to eat the meal I prepared. I vaguely remember the snake care manual mentioning that snakes don't need to be fed every day. Seeing them hesitate to move, I put away the salmon, went back inside to wash up, and went to bed. After a long and tiring day of travel, I fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow tonight. I even forgot to close the curtains. In the middle of the night, I felt the moonlight in front of me being blocked by a shadow. The man seemed very tall, blocking the view completely. I pinched my palm, trying to open my eyes. With each movement, my chest rose and fell continuously. Finally, consciousness gradually returned, half asleep. A scorching head burrowed into the hollow of my neck. Their voice was thick with a nasal tone, as if they had just been crying. Bro, can't you be gentler with people? She's already chafed raw. The snake's scales were smooth and cool, slowly slithering up along the ankle. In just an instant, I was pulled by the chin into a kiss with that person. Though called a kiss, it felt more like being devoured, leaving my chin numb from the intensity. Just as I was about to run out of breath, I was reluctantly pulled into an embrace. After all this time, you still haven't learned how to breathe properly. Stiffly opening my eyes, I found myself staring into a pair of pale, vertical pupils, the barrage of comments flashing before my eyes went wild. The female lead is so naive, really thinking a high-maintenance baby just needs hugs and kisses. That's not salmon he's eating, that's you. Even in his juvenile snake form, he's already manipulating his owner's dreams. Imagine what he'll be capable of later. Dual-bodied twins are the most thrilling setting. How is this any different from dating two people at once? Who cares if it's black or white? Just turn them all yellow for me. Reality and dreams overlapped, the strange sensation rousing me awake. It felt a little damp. I sat up hugging the blanket, feeling slightly sore. A trace of bewilderment flashing through my eyes. The mattress beside me dipped slightly. The man who had initially been crouching at the foot of the bed now leaned forward to meet me. The moisture at the corner of his lips glistened with an unusual sheen under the moonlight. That handsome face stopped less than 3 centimeters away from me. A cold breath brushed against the side of my neck as the man's lips curled into a mocking smile. Yet his words couldn't conceal his excitement. Finally. "I've been discovered. Who are you?" The strangely behaving boy before me was now greedily tilting his head back with my water glass in hand. The transparent liquid trickled down his jaw, dampening the lace choker tied around his throat, outlining the shape of his alluring Adam's apple. My face gradually flushed with warmth. "What exactly did you just do to me?" The boy's eyes showed no emotion, nor did he make a sound. Instead, the skin pressed against the back of his knee grew increasingly scorching. "Master, you're awake." I turned my head stiffly and met another pair of beautiful, translucent pink eyes. There was actually another person who looked exactly the same. He leaned back against the big-faced cat pillow, the veins on his neck slightly bulging with the movement, playing with a peach in his hand. The man's fingertips were faintly tinged with red. The next second, juice splattered everywhere. The peach was split in half, its fresh and sweet aroma quickly filling the bedroom. "Master, would you like some peach?" Suddenly, half of a crisp peach was pressed against my lips, pink, cool, and refreshing. My vision went black, and I almost screamed in fright. "Sorry, did I scare you? Is this right?" At 5 a.m., 2 male models appeared in my bed. My first thought was that I must be dreaming. Given the overwhelming number of elements, I obediently closed my eyes and lay back down. With my eyes shut tight, I muttered fervently, "Sarah, go to sleep, just sleep it off, and you'll be fine." Beneath the soft bedding, something with a rough texture brushed against my calf. I reached out to grab it, but it nimbly dodged away. The next second, a gleaming white-tailed tip suddenly emerged between my legs, like some expensive glass-grade jade, translucent and lustrous. "I am Thomas. He is Harry, your exclusive twin Beastmen." Even the strongest woman would be startled to find 2 men suddenly appearing in her home, even if they had sharp eyebrows, starry eyes, high nose bridges, superior bone structure, broad shoulders, narrow waists, 8-pack abs, and tails. "Wait, tails, holy shit, my pet snake has become a spirit." "Are you the pink one?" The boy awkwardly touched his ear and nodded obediently. "He is the yellow one." The cold-faced one who was pointed at just stood there with arms crossed at the foot of the bed. As if he wasn't the same person who had greedily drunk my water moments ago. Moving closer, I noticed the metal tag hanging around his neck engraved with Harry. "Harry." The man awkwardly squeezed out a single word from his nostrils. His tail was clearly wagging, yet he still wore that Sundra expression on his face, just like Jet when he first came home, loading cargo. At the moment, it was a bit too honest. I grabbed the nightgown trapped beneath me and quickly slipped it on. Slid off the bed like a refugee fleeing disaster, leaving only the 2 brothers kneeling on the bed, staring at each other in wide-eyed silence. The barrage of comments before my eyes kept coming, clearly more excited than I was. "The female lead's sleeping posture is truly something else. She managed to strip herself naked in her sleep. Awkward much? Ha ha ha. Hey, are you okay? I've already taken my pants off and got the tissues ready, and you just walk out looking all fresh like that. Get back here." The Beastman's character setting is that of an extremely loyal big dog to its owner. That lucky brat must have it so good, can't even hold all that with both hands at night, acting a bit ungrateful now. Let me say it again, men should wear lace chokers. That faintly visible Adam's apple is killing me. Through the door, the 2 were still arguing relentlessly inside. "Brother, we're not who we used to be anymore. The Beastmen have long been reduced to human pets. Have you forgotten what you promised me, to win her over gently, not by force?" Harry retorted. "But she doesn't deserve our kindness at all, since she bought us. Have you ever had a full meal? If I hadn't forced you to enter the dream with me, you would have starved to death long ago. Thomas, don't forget, even the contract was something we had to initiate ourselves. you know better than anyone what condition my body is in. Thousands worth of salmon and sweet shrimp were fed to the dog. And you're blaming me for not having enough to eat, but I'd rather starve than be taken away by the Bureau for disposal. Just wait a little longer, give her more time, she just doesn't understand this aspect. Maybe one day. The cup fell to the ground as Harry growled in a low voice. Thomas, stop lying to yourself, okay? We've both seen the stuff in her cloud storage. How could she not understand that kind of content? Dude, is this right? You peeked at the owner's private stuff. And now you're acting all aggrieved. Besides, I'm a girl who doesn't smoke or drink, so what if I'm a bit of a pervert? A long silence ensued, and I turned away, clutching my phone. Notice, the 02 item you purchased has formed a contract at 04:58 today. Please check for advanced gameplay instructions. Your order has been fully completed. Wishing you a pleasant life. The progress bar in the shared document had already advanced to 85%, and the page count had increased to 11 pages. But I had no time to appreciate the merchant's creativity. My top priority was dealing with those two boundary-lacking beastmen in the bedroom. On the balcony, I paced anxiously in circles. I wanted to call the police but wasn't sure whether to dial the local station or the Beastmen Management Bureau. In the end, I called the friend who had recommended the shop to me in the first place. Wendy, you'd better explain this clearly. This thing, is it really legit? The woman was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing. You mean the puppy snake? Of course it's legit. Approved for sale by the Beastman Management Bureau. Each product has its own unique serial number. Once activated, they're no different from regular pets. Legal and safe, that's the first win. Loyal and capable, that's the second win. Low maintenance and hassle-free, that's the third win. Take my advice, sis, two-legged men are everywhere, but four-legged beastmen are hard to come by. I paused for a moment. Can you see these bullet comments too? Oh, this is a freebie that came with the premium package. The merchant enabled a real-time viewing feature from another world. But don't worry, the back end will selectively black out the screen. Honestly, those big yellow girls are way more playful than I am. You've had him for so long, surely you've tried him out by now. I mumbled vaguely in response. Of course I have. Then how did you feed him? Let's exchange some tips. By heaven and earth, I swear, the salmon and sweet shrimp I ordered were all from those Japanese restaurants we often eat at. Clean and hygienic, the other person exclaimed in shock. Is that how you feed it? You might as well starve it to death. After the progress bar reaches 50%, you can't feed it ordinary food anymore. Didn't you read the advanced version of the snake feeding manual sent by the seller? Knowing I was in the wrong, I had no choice but to tell the truth. I thought those were just some legends about the snake clan's dual-bodied twins, and assumed the merchants were obsessed with their own creations. So I didn't. Wait, dual-bodied twins. Before the words could fully leave their mouth, they were interrupted. The woman shrieked, Sarah, do you know how rare dual-bodied twins are? Twin spirits, sharing one soul but with opposite genders, a ruthless and violent elder brother, and a gentle, jade-like younger brother. Before the bond merges, there are two of them. Right now, the black market has driven the price up to $1 billion. Having a pair of empathic twins in your hands is such a waste. Then if I sell them on the black market, can I get $1 billion? TSK, 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 orcs are jealous creatures. You can say that to me, but if they hear it, be careful or they'll break your back. Wendy's little snake dog, with its exotic foreign lineage, is full of charm, curly hair, dark skin, lean muscles, chestnut eyes. The woman's pale fingers hooked under the man's chin, pressing a light kiss to his lips. The stark contrast of black and white was striking. Sam, tell this sister how I usually satisfy your hunger. Can't even roast this. True besties, he dares to say it, but I'm a bit afraid to hear it. The woman was so generous with her advice that it left my little face flushed with embarrassment. This was followed by a half-hour mini-lecture, with knowledge rushing into my brain as if it had legs. Wendy was practically itching to step in herself, teaching me hands-on how to raise a strong and healthy little snake dog. I tried to digest this, but suddenly realized there are currently two such high-energy consuming creatures in my home. Unscrupulous merchants. They practically wanted my life. You're saying Thomas and Harry are two distinct individuals formed from different personality splits. So what if, I only want the obedient snake personality? Hearing this, a flicker of resistance flashed in the beastman's eyes across from me, but out of respect for Wendy, he still suppressed his emotions and patiently explained, Beastfolk contract marks brand the soul, and they can only form a contract once in their lifetime. The same goes for dual-bodied beings. And they can only contract with the same master. Of course, the contract can be dissolved if necessary. However, beast folk who have had their contracts dissolved cannot return to the shop for resale and mostly end up in the black market. He paused for a moment before continuing. Most beast folk who end up in the black market are cast-offs from their original masters and naturally aren't treated well by their new owners. Many humans act on a whim, taking them home at a low price just for novelty's sake. In the end, these beastfolk usually end up as strays. Due to backyard breeding, the number of beastmen has been increasing, leading to more and more unlicensed beastmen wandering the streets. To maintain social stability, the authorities mark abandoned beastmen as defective products. Once marked as defective, they are captured by specialized personnel within 3 working days and sent to the beastmen prison for centralized disposal. Comments: Oh no, is she planning to dispose of the brother's snake personality? Twin beastmen already have a low status within their clan. The brother only developed such an unlikable personality to protect his younger brother and himself. Even though he enters dreams, most of the time is given to Thomas, and he only takes enough to maintain basic life functions. The great snake of the clear sky, he's a good boy. I can't believe this dumb female lead. She didn't even bother to do proper research before buying him, and now she wants to dispose of him when she doesn't want him anymore. Can't she have a little responsibility? Hey, upstairs, what do you mean? The female lead never intended to buy a beastman in the first place. If you suddenly found out your cute, soft snake pet had turned into 2 6 feet 2 inches tall men, you'd be scared out of your wits too. I wanted to say more, but it was clear their attention was no longer on me. The flirtatious, honeyed words made me blush even harder. When I returned to the room, only Thomas the snake remained. A pet reptile turned into a male companion. I truly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. My head was buzzing, and my thoughts were a complete mess. Looking at the person in front of me, I waved my hand and said, "You, go make me a couple of dishes now." The boy nodded obediently and headed toward the kitchen. Only after he had walked away did I slowly cover my mouth. On one hand, I marveled at my own remarkable adaptability. On the other hand, having servants really feels great. On the phone screen, the shop pushed a new notification. Due to prolonged energy deficiency, product No. 02 will enter the hunger rebound phase. Lying in bed, I took a closer look and opened the care manual to study it carefully. This wasn't my intention, but since we're here, we might as well make the best of it. Let's just take good care of it then. At worst, we can buy more sea cucumbers, goji berries, and the like. However, the care manual index doesn't mention anything about hunger backlash. However, the dietary habits are pretty much as Wendy described. To feed a healthy beast man, ordinary food alone is insufficient. One must offer oneself to the snake. The further I flipped through, the more illustrations appeared, until I came across a bolded, black font title, 108 Positions of the Beast Man. Even the merchant thoughtfully replaced the face with mine, ahem, down to the time, location, position, arrangement, and posture. Damn, that's intense. With a smack, the phone hit me right in the face. Hearing the noise, Thomas rushed over with a spatula in hand. "Master, what's wrong?" I quickly covered my nosebleed and awkwardly turned away. "It's nothing." Next time, knock before entering the room. Once he was gone again, I sprang up like a carp and dashed to lock the door, then pressed my ear against it warily to listen for any movement. After making sure the other person had gone far away, he finally took out the phone hidden in his pocket. In the end, he finished all the cheese with a flushed face. Since studying the entire manual, I feel full of confidence and have mastered the scientific methods of feeding beastmen. "Thomas, are you hungry?" The young man lowered his eyes as he folded clothes. "Master, I'm not hungry." Thus, they coexisted peacefully for dozens of days, watching Thomas grow increasingly frail, his hands trembling violently while sprinkling salt during cooking, his steps as light and unsteady as a lost soul. Unable to bear it any longer, I beckoned to him. "Come here, I'll feed you." The blushing yet cold-bodied youth immediately coiled around me obediently, the serpentine tail locked onto me. inching upward bit by bit. The next day at noon, I was woken by Thomas's kiss in the study. When pulled into an embrace, my whole being was dazed. Thomas nuzzled into the crook of my neck. After secretly taking a few deep breaths, he slowly said, "Master, someone is looking for you at the door." "Who is it?" My elbow accidentally bumped the mouse, and the huge display screen in front of me lit up. The screen was paused on the 108 positions of Beastmen, glanced at Thomas, then back at the screen. Flushed bright red in an instant. It's not what it looks like. The picture was right there before my eyes, leaving me utterly speechless. Yet Thomas gave me a look of understanding. I believe whatever you say, Master, me, but it's obvious you don't believe a word of it." I was already in a bad mood, and opening the door only to see Kevin's face made it even worse. This guy was a blind date set up by my family. He's 175 centimeters tall with a PhD in engineering. Perhaps it was the academic halo effect, but unusually, I didn't refuse. The more we interacted, the weirder it got. I rejected him several times, but still couldn't shake him off. I rolled my eyes and was about to close the door. The man approached with a cheeky grin, using his knee to block the door. Sarah, don't close the door. It's your husband. Why is your face so red? So cute, get lost." Kevin's smile froze for a moment before he shamelessly plastered it back on. The man rubbed his hands together and shifted slightly, finally revealing the luggage at his feet. "I took some time to reflect and realized you were right. In a marriage, one partner always has to give more. Since you're the one earning, I quit my job and moved to your city. From now on, you handle the outside world, and I'll take care of home. We'll make this work, and if we have kids later, even if you don't like me anymore, you'll tolerate me for their sake." Just then, Harry, who had been missing for a full 20 days, suddenly appeared at the elevator, holding a cup of milk tea, a milk tea with green tea, pretending to be busy. "No extra sugar, less ice, it's my usual order." Harry dyed his hair white, dressed all in black, leaning lazily against the hallway. He tilted his chin up and raised an eyebrow, signaling, "Who's this?" "My senior, Sarah. Who would have thought? You used to pick the ugliest things to eat. Weren't you afraid of getting diarrhea? Damn. This guy's mouth is vicious." Kevin instantly had a major meltdown. "You bought a Beastman too, and here I thought you were different from those other women." Just as Kevin stood there fuming, Thomas appeared in the doorway holding an iron. "Master, would you like me to iron this shirt dress for you?" The two strikingly similar faces standing side by side created an even stronger visual impact. Kevin jumped in shock once again. "You actually targeted the same family repeatedly, playing so boldly." The scene completely descended into chaos. Finally, the three of them stood side by side at the door, watching Kevin leave with his suitcase. The scene was filled with eeriness, yet strangely harmonious. Harry on the left gnawed noisily on his straw, tilting his head to look at me before finally blurting out after a long pause, "Sarah, I get it now. If you have a thing for ugly people, then it makes sense you wouldn't be into me." Watching Harry's retreating figure, I widened my eyes in disbelief. Only belatedly did it dawn on me. Did he just insult me? No, Master, he was complimenting you on being adorable. With a smile in his eyes, Thomas walked into the room carrying an iron. "I feel like I can't handle either of these two snake personalities." Late at night, I lay in bed flipping through the snake rearing manual. As my fingers brushed over the blood-red totem on the manual's last page, the progress bar number 95% jumped into view. At that very moment, a string of red annotations appeared at the bottom of the screen. "Warning, when progress reaches 100%, soul binding will be triggered. If the host refuses, product no, 02 will be simultaneously annihilated." Product no, 02, Harry. Sure enough, the crystal he left me dimmed the next second, cold as a shard of ice in my palm. A loud noise suddenly came from the basement storage room. I immediately rushed downstairs, only to find the storage room door locked from the inside. Fortunately, the door was an old relic left by the previous owner and wasn't sturdy. After a few forceful kicks, it crashed down with a thud. The sound of clanking chains echoed as Harry curled up in the corner. No one knew how long he had been sitting there, dehydrated. The man's lips cracked and bled. He seemed to be in great distress, frantically tugging at the lace collar around his neck until it was misshapen. The tip of its tail unconsciously scraped against the ground. leaving behind streaks of blood. Harry, you, I took a tentative step forward. Harry's voice was hoarse, his gaze filled with hostility as he looked at me. Get out, a guttural growl rumbled from his throat, warning me to step back. Without any barrier, my figure was reflected in his amber eyes, like sinking into a clear spring, transparent and pure. But now, that clear spring was churning violently, with the faint potential to surge into towering waves. After a moment, he averted his gaze and slowly lowered his head. Do you only want the obedient one? We're clearly the same person. Why can't you try to like me a little too? From this angle, all I could see was the top of his head, but I unexpectedly discovered that Harry's white hair wasn't dyed. It was gradually showing signs of turning black. I stepped over the hundreds of drag marks left by iron chains on the ground and crouched down in front of him, cupping his chin with both hands. I said, then you should learn to behave too. Harry's eyelashes trembled slightly, but he remained silent. His gaze gradually grew dim. Harry still sat silently in the corner, as if quietly awaiting death's arrival. The key to the chains hung on the wall to Harry's left, within easy reach. Yet all he had to do was unlock the shackles to pounce on me. I frowned. Harry, before I could finish, he interrupted me. I know, you only need Thomas, no need to emphasize it in front of me. I heard what you said that day. Hazel eyes tinged with a faint pink, gradually melting into the color of lavender. He knelt on the cold ground, placing the nameplate from his neck into my palm. Tomorrow I will disappear, and this body will belong only to him. Comments. The hunger backlash forces beastmen to unconsciously harm their masters. Harry promised his younger brother not to resort to force, which is why he locked himself in the storage room. What a tsundere. I suddenly feel so sorry for Harry. Since birth, due to his incomplete serpent personality, he and his brother were bullied by their clan. Later, after escaping, he was tricked into signing a contract of servitude and lured into the bureau as a lab rat for drug testing. Finally reunited with his brother, he was still bullied because of his personality. Now, thanks to his brother, they were both sold off together, but the owner still only feeds Thomas, pretending not to care, when in reality, he's just a young serpent who hasn't been an adult for long. When Thomas snuggles with the female lead, Harry can feel it too, curled up alone in the damp, dark greenery of the residential area. His lonely and desolate appearance is heartbreaking. If it weren't for wanting to see his owner one last time before dying, he would never have come up. Female lead. Please feed him too, Thomas. Clean him up and bring him to my room. Thomas, who was guarding the door, immediately stepped forward and removed Harry's handcuffs. Harry, covered in dirt, looked up in confusion. What does she mean by that? The master wants to feed you. The man's lips curled slightly, but soon a trace of self-mockery flashed in his eyes as he suppressed the smile. Feed me, so I'll look healthier and fetch a better price on the black market. Is that it? Me, many times. I really want to crack open this stupid snake's head to see just how much water is inside. Eavesdropping, yet only hearing half of it. Even Thomas couldn't stand it anymore and gave him a hard kick. Bro, you should talk less. When cleaned up and placed on the bed, Harry still had that lifeless look. I kicked him. Aren't you supposed to be suffering from hunger backlash? The man groaned, his shoulders trembling slightly. His voice muffled as he replied, not hungry. This guy probably only has his mouth that's tough all over. If I didn't know better, I'd think he was my master. Fine, let's sleep then. With that, I turned off the light. 10 minutes later, Harry poked my lower back with his tail. Hey, I'm actually really scared of being destroyed. Another 10 minutes passed. Are you really going to sleep just like that? I grabbed a pillow and threw it over. If you're not eating, then shut up. How come I never noticed you talked so much before? Maybe Thomas possessed me, who knows? I didn't reply. Perhaps unable to resist any longer, Harry rolled over. Sarah, the coolness emanating from his body swept over. I frowned slightly, wanting to push the person away. The palm touched cold skin, raising a series of fine goosebumps. One cold, one hot. Is this how it is? Forget it. After a while, I really couldn't hold back anymore. I knocked on the snake's head with a thud. Harry, spit it out. He didn't make a sound. Just as I thought the night would end like this, Harry suddenly stood up, making a move to lower his head and serve me. I frowned and tried to back away, but was pulled back by my ankle. In the darkness, an intense wave of masculine hormones quickly enveloped me. I licked my lips somewhat unnaturally. Enough, I don't have that kind of preference. Harry stubbornly pulled at me. I can do everything he can. How do you know you won't like it if you don't try? Noticing the lingering bite marks beneath my nightgown, he scoffed. Last night, you let him leave marks. I wanted to. The pain made me gasp sharply. I clutched at Harry's head against my chest, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't pull him away. Harry tilted his head and buried it in the crook of my neck, his warm, damp breath brushing against the back of my ear. Has he ever been here like I have? I froze for a moment, then mustered all my strength to slap him. You're insane. With a sharp slap, the man's head was knocked to the side. The moment I raised my hand, I already regretted it, but by then, it was too late to pull back. Comments, damn, that's a big bump. Did Big Sis just beat the pleasure into him? Harry, actually, when the master slaps me, the first thing that drifts over is the fragrance. Then comes the slap, when I recall that moment filling my nostrils. The burning sensation on my face isn't pain anymore, it's pure ecstasy, dog training literature, more until I'm sick of it. Hiss, don't you think Harry was already his complete self when he came out of the storeroom? I casually turned on the nightlight, revealing the person before me with black and white streaked hair and eyes that had completely turned lavender. Suddenly, I realized, this was the true form of both of them. Are you okay? I swallowed nervously, feeling somewhat awkward as I stepped forward to check on them. The man before me covered his burning right cheek, his ears turning red, his tongue pressed against the wound at the corner of his mouth, drawing in every crimson drop of blood. Master, see, can we do it again? Things were gradually spiraling out of control. The care manual never mentioned that physical stamina would double after merging with another person. I am going to break. I thought it would end when we reached the bathroom, unexpectedly. He wiped the bite mark on my chest and buried his head there again. The stamina of Beastmen is truly no joke, especially when encountering one who's been starving for so long. Fortunately, he still had some professional integrity and became much gentler in the latter half. I vaguely remember the original body had a better figure. Where it should be big, it was big. Where it should be firm, it was firm. The live barrage during the stream was already in complete chaos. Just hearing the sound. I'm a distinguished VIP. Please quickly release the black screen part as a bonus, or else I'm going to make a scene. Don't you think they switched snake personalities midway to take the lead? So this is where the props from the shop came in handy, for 10 days straight. Feeding turned into a desk job. I glared at Harry kneeling at the foot of the bed, panting heavily. I bit down on his index finger wedged between my teeth, taking several seconds to fully articulate. Harry, today's shift schedule says you're not the dominant snake personality, but sister, I'm hungry. When he lifted his gaze, his pupils reflected my image, and even the teardrop mole at the corner of his eye seemed to flush red. When did Harry learn to be so coquettish? Before I could even think. I was pulled into another wave of passion. Half asleep, I vaguely saw two figures standing by the bed. One of them was holding ointment, bending down to apply it on me. Another person stood with arms crossed and scoffed lightly. What happened to your gentle and considerate persona? Finally couldn't keep up the act. Anyway, she can't tell us apart. Oh, I told her last night that I was Harry, and she believed it. That person seemed furious but, afraid of waking me, had to lower his voice. Thomas, have I been spoiling you too much lately? She really likes it when I act spoiled. The fingertip rubbing the swollen area suddenly dropped, the person seeming deflated. Oh, have you finished writing the last chapter of the Snake Keeping Manual? The shop's closed too. Contact Sam and have him delete the bullet comment system. Even knowing it's AI generated, it still creeps me out. The authorities have started noticing recently. I've already deleted the information. Under my careful nurturing, the main body's health points have finally recovered to 100%. The next morning, I hobbled around holding my phone, eager to show off to others. Look at this. The two people playing chess in the living room looked up simultaneously. No one told me that after the main body merges, it can still separate again. So, what exactly have I been burning with passion for all these days? Beastman Management Bureau Emergency Notice. A recent high-risk incident involving the escape of a Yandera Beastman has occurred within the jurisdiction. The individual in question is equipped with a forced contract module and has already been reported binding human hosts without authorization. These Beastmen not only exhibit extreme possessiveness and violent tendencies, forcibly establishing psychic symbiotic contracts through saliva, blood, and other means, but also leverage their striking appearance and Oscar-worthy acting skills to feign docility and affection, gaining trust while secretly engaging in obsessive behaviors such as surveillance and confinement. The Beastman Management Bureau is conducting a full-scale manhunt. This serves as an urgent warning to all citizens. If you encounter an abnormal Beastman claiming to be exclusively yours, regardless of how docile or affectionate they appear, do not trust or engage with them to avoid falling into their acting trap and being forcibly bound. If you spot such individuals, immediately call the emergency hotline at 1178 and prioritize your personal safety. Public Security Division, Beastman Management Bureau.